And it's Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Talking Business. We're at the Media Audience and Content Marketing Association Industry Day, and get a chance to talk with Brian Morrissey, who's had a long career in reporting about direct marketing, digital marketing, and he's now the publisher of his own newsletter, The Rebooting. Brian, good to see you. What was it like to be here at the MACMA Day?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's a reminder that, even in an age of AI and programmatic advertising, that getting humans together still matters.
Absolutely. ChatGPT was one of the comments that came up as you spoke today. Its impact, you said it's going to encourage more in-person events. So you know who you're actually hearing from. What is the impact you've seen so far from ChatGPT?
Well, it's so early right now that I feel like we're in the phase where people are still experimenting with a lot of these AI tools. And I think there's a lot of fear and loathing when it comes to AI and the impact it's going to have in the long term, particularly with the publishing industry or anyone who's doing creative work. But I think, at least immediately, it's going to have actually a positive impact. It's going to allow people to be more efficient, and it's going to be used for a lot of the sort of drudgery that exists with creating content. I understand the fears that it's going to replace a lot of creative work, and it will to some degree, but I think it's going to lead people back to more human types of communication, and it'll put a value on human connections and personality.
I loved your comment about going into an era of bots writing to bots. What's your thought on that one?
Well, I think when we look at these AI tools, is they enable massive content creation at scale like we've never seen before. I've seen one study that says 98% of digital content that will be created over the next few years is going to be synthetic, meaning it's not going to be created by humans. I think in that kind of world, just in the same way that we had with the mechanized agriculture industry, we're going to see people put a higher value on artisanal, just like they put a higher value on artisanal food, people will put a higher value on artisanal content. And that's content that they know was created by a human for other humans, because a lot of the content is going to be created by bots and even consumed by other bots.
And you talked a little bit about, in this structure, multiple platforms and publishing and getting to the end consumer reader, about who gets paid and how that whole series of providers interact. So what's the key on that in the series of providers that goes from a reader to the source of the editorial?
Well, I think the last 10 years have proven to us that the creators of the content have not been getting the full value that is being created by their content, because there's so many intermediaries between the advertiser and the publisher. I think one of the exciting things about direct revenue models, particularly around subscriptions, is that cuts out a lot of the middlemen, so to speak, and allows publishers or even individual creators to make money in a way that doesn't rely on advertising, and where a lot of the value is taken by ad tech companies.
Hey, you've written for some terrific publications in your career, DM News, which I read for years, and Adweek and Digiday, where you were the editor-in-chief. What have been some of the big stories that you've covered in your career?
I think one of the biggest, for me, actually covering the rise of Google was probably the most interesting in retrospect, because when I first started covering Google, probably in the early 2000s, it was not, it was before they had gone public, and people didn't understand how powerful search advertising was. And I was working for, like you said, direct marketing news. And this was in the aftermath of the .com collapse, and a lot of people had thrown in the towel on internet advertising, right? Because there was a lot of overpromises that were made during that era. But, direct marketers always go where the money is, and they'll put $1 in anywhere that will get them $3 back. And really what Google did was prove, now they call it performance marketing, but that direct marketing in digital channels could be vastly larger than it was in analog media. So seeing Google really perfect the search business model was really instructive.
And you've got a terrific new newsletter, the Rebooting, that a number of people here were talking about, that they read it all the time. What are some of the subjects you cover in the newsletter? How can someone sign up for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've started writing the Rebooting 2 years ago, really as a place for conversations about how to build sustainable media businesses. And part of that is just my own experience of being in the media industry for 20 years. It's not the easiest business, I think, every single one of us in this business has lost their job at some point because of decisions that someone else made. And so I think it's really important to have a healthy media ecosystem. And so I wanted to have a place where people could come together and learn about how other people are creating sustainable business models. I do a podcast called The Rebooting Show, and there's also a newsletter. It's at therebooting.com. And it's been really rewarded. And I think one of the big stories, other than the rise of AI, that I've been focused on is really the shift from the previous era, where it was about trying to build as big of audiences as possible, to where I think the sweet spot is now, which is having very focused audiences around specific topics or niches, because I think that is going to be only more powerful going forward.
Hey, we're both Providence College graduates, and you also studied in Europe at the Catholic University in Leuven, where I actually had the chance to attend a couple of conferences on the EU. And then you went to Columbia Journalism School, one of the best in the world. Why did you decide to go into journalism?
That's a good question. Sometimes I ask myself that. No, I think journalism, actually, I still believe it was a good career choice. I would do it over again if I had the choice. I mostly went into journalism because I like to write, and I was curious about how things work. And I think if you're someone, particularly if you have curiosity, I still think it's a great profession, because you get to talk to all kinds of different people, and you get to understand how the world works.
Well, that's why I enjoy doing our media for the CBSI Talking Business video blog. Brian, great to meet you, and everyone appreciated your talk here at the MACMA Media Audience and Content Marketing Association event today. Good to see you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. Ken Kraetzer for CBSI Services.